Copperhead's response...
What, you thought that was the only thing in my arsenal? I mean, and then he gets hit by a car going 65 miles an hour and gets up
like
directly
nothing
afterwards
happened.
and then fights both superheroes. Hawk tries to tackle him and then says, get him off me! Dove, help!
So Dove comes over
and like,
holds him down and uses...
Kind of a Vulcan neck pitch, just holding him down. Just, I've got him down! Knock him out! Knock him out! I can't hold this for very long. He's very slippery. He's very slippery and he keeps wiggling. Part of the reason he's so slippery is because he actually has like this special gel all over his suit that keeps him from going, and it keeps him from being, well, roasted alive for one thing, and allows him to squeeze through things. I mean, his suit is fireproof, waterproof,
bulletproof.
It's a
He could go into a burning building,
steal all their jewelry, and then run out.
Nobody's the wiser.
And the only villain I can really think of that's anything like him is Megavolt from Darkwing Duck. I mean, they just kind of go along with everyone else, but they're mostly in it for like this one thing. They really only care about one thing. And they're kind of crazy and they're aware of it. But they go ahead and stick with the theme just because it annoys everybody. And they can't get out of it. They don't even like their theme. All the other villains are like, I chose this theme because I thought it was awesome, so I'm gonna stick with it. Even Killer Moth. Killer Moth is very competent and really cool, and it's like,
yeah, a lot of people
think Killer Moth. How intimidating is that?
Then there's another thing about his suit. Everyone seems to think that, well, outside of the comics, a lot of people seem to think that his tail is his main weapon, that he can't function without the suit.
Actually, in all likelihood, he was a cat burglar long before he became Copperhead.
And a professional one at that.
I mean, you could literally make up anything you wanted about his backstory because he doesn't have one. I mean, and the comics never address this, other than John Doe. The heroes literally put on his gravestone, John Doe. It's even in his police file, John Doe, because nobody knows what his name is. Nobody knows his name, nothing.
He's very good at keeping a secret, hence the why nobody knows his name. He had to be given a fake name
by Cadmus,
so they could call him something other than Copperhead.
There's also this thing where he has a daughter, technically.
In the New 52?
Well, in the New 52 it says he has a daughter, but I think in all likelihood, because it's the granddaughter of a crime boss, it's likely that her mom lied
to
her dad about, like, she fell in love with this guy
who her dad definitely did
and had
not
a baby
like.
and had a baby with him in secret, and then is like, why are you having a baby? Who's the daddy?
So choose someone that the crime boss dad
wouldn't
want to
go
kill
at
because he's too useful.
Either because he's very good at his job or because he's very good at his job. Just coming over and, oh, you want to hurt me? Okay, let me kill you first. So I think it's likely that Copperhead's daughter isn't actually his. It's likely Copperhead died of origin, especially after he became half snake. I mean, it's an interesting concept, and it's like, and you know bupkis about him, so it's like,
the one thing you can count on is that he likely, well, one thing you can say about his backstory, despite the fact that he doesn't have one, is he does have contacts outside of your usual supervillains.
I mean, because he's very good at what he's become so famous within the crime families that he goes out, he knows people from Russia, France. They hire him in France to take down Elastic Man. who is
And-
who's one of the few superheroes that knows he's a threat.
He makes sure to keep him at a distance at all times. Just
if there is if you want an assassin or a thief, they typically call him. I mean, because of that, because the big top baddies keep hiring him to do these things,
which is
the lame-o group, the group of supervillains who
That are-
know they're lame,
kicked him out.
wouldn't let him join because he was too awesome. He underestimates his own abilities, much like Hawkeye does, which I think is why everybody underestimates him. He just hasn't been given the proper light He just hasn't been given the proper light.
Yeah, and when he decided to become a snake, that was why. He was, because of getting caught one too many times by a superhero, it kind of downgraded his already unstable mentality. A very fragile ego.
The last thing I wanted to cover on this is, I think he'd make an awesome Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
Just like if Marvel and DC crossed over again. Yeah, if Marvel and DC crossed over, I can see Copperhead kind of going up against Spider-Man, being more competent than any of the other snake-themed villains in Marvel. Just like, but not even setting off his spider senses, because it's like sitting on the roof about to eat a sandwich, and then Copperhead comes over, sits down next to him, eats a pigeon.
Not setting it off until he's like inches away.
Works. Yeah, he wouldn't immediately set off Spider-Man because he wouldn't be directly attacking him unless somebody paid him to. Mm-hmm. And in all likelihood, that would be like Doc Ock or something. But
he's a nice guy, but when he becomes part snake, you can see exactly where his mentality starts ending up. Because the more snake-like he gets, the more he thinks like a snake, and the less control he has as a human.
Yeah, which is actually why we think in Manhunter, in the Manhunter comic where he dies,
he purposely
riles up the one person who could take him down.
The one person who wanted to take him out.
He just
passing by the lady while she's being interviewed, she's saying, "Why is it humane to kill a bunch of animals that are that are rabid and whatnot? But it's not okay to stop someone who literally eats people." He could clearly hear her.
And gave her kind of this challenging look. And it was just so creepy.
It was just so creepy.
She had to. He kills 2 guards, escapes, and then gets.
They snake
and then they fight for a little bit, and then she blows his brain open. And blows his brain. It's like just shoots him in the head. Which worked.
She
as a human, but because that's the way. Because if it weren't for the darkest night storyline, I think it's likely that as he is part snake, snakes have a tendency to regrow. Snakes can survive without most of their brains.
Well, they ain't officially dead until after sundown. That's a weird freak of thing of nature. You chop off their head, next thing you know, their mouth is still going like this. Trying to bite whatever just chopped their head off.
Get back here.
They will even just bite their own tails because it's just wiggling around. It would be even freakier if Copperhead actually did that. Yes, he does get a little obsessed about his targets, but he can also change tactics to get them to do whatever, and to get them to do certain things. Like in the Superboy comics, what he did was he threatened to kill the guy or pay. He didn't care which.
Because that's what his bosses wanted. Then he's like, or I can kill your pretty little daughter. Your poor little girl.
Which he proceeds to do.
Proceeds to try to do. Then he takes on Superboy, who just barely manages to beat him.
He had to punch him like 20 times.
Before he was
Electrocute him. And then one last punch up into a tree. That's what took him out. He escaped a few weeks later as the new and improved Copperhead.
And then, when he came back to take down Superboy,
he made sure that
almost
Superboy was at his weakest.
Lured him into a trap, and then proceeded to fight him as much as he could. He's this close to beating Superboy. Superboy just managed to launch him over the railing before he...
I don't have the energy to... I took up the last of my energy.
And that's what we got?
I think
besides the fact that Copperhead can now spit acid for some reason, despite the fact that he's a freaking Copperhead. And the costume designs.
But
it's
I think he wasn't actually turned into a real snake. Sure, he can stretch his jaw like a real snake and grow fangs and whatnot. But the fact that he can spit acid, still have most of his limbs, and whatnot, I don't think he was turning into a snake. I think he was turning more into a dragon.
Could have been.
And
it's throughout all of them, you can see slight changes to his outfit, and one of them is like, he's a Copperhead, not a freaking cobra. It's like the mask. It's like Cobra. He's Copperhead. Like, these people do not know what snakes look like.
Or how they work.
We've also wondered about two things about this point out. In Darkest Night, the reasons in the Darkest Night storyline, the reason why all the villains are buried and cremated underneath the Justice Tower is because people going around trying to steal their DNA, and it's like,
pretty sure they took like 2 limbs from Copperhead.
Considering, I mean, who wouldn't want an army of snake men that you can control via money?
Especially Cadmus.
Yeah, Cadmus would want to hold on to that, especially. Yeah. I mean, and then we've actually come up with a theory that Copperhead is actually one of the few villains that if he wanted to, he could beat Superman. Just nobody's bothered paying him to do that. Not even Luthor. And Luthor hires him the most often. It's like,
why not do that? The simplest thing Copperhead could do...
Fine. You group of villains. First one to kill Superman gets $1 million. Where's your kryptonite? I mean, because all he would have to do is like sprinkle kryptonite, rub kryptonite all over, powderize the kryptonite and just rub it all over his fake teeth, the fake fangs, and then bite Superman with it. That is literally all he would have to do.
Then the second he pulled away, Superman's skin would revert back to normal, thick, impenetrable, which would make trying to give him the antidote nearly impossible. And what does the neurotoxin do? It practically liquefies your insides.
Yes, and that's why it's so dead.
And he targets the neck,
which is the fastest way. Which a specific artery, you have a specific artery in your neck that actually goes directly to your brain. So it'd be like Superman's brain dead in like 10 minutes.
And nobody was able to give him the antidote. Batman, the reason he got close to living for so long in the very first comic was because Copperhead struck him in the arm.
And I don't think it was very much, and I don't think it was all that as refined.
Because because he newly started out with it.
Yeah, he's had time to modify the poison so that it's more effective.
Yeah. Snakes normally strike the arm or the leg, but Copperhead always strikes the neck.
It might make him less interesting. I don't know. It might finally give people a reason to be like, oh, I'm so sympathetic. The sympathy.
Yeah, I have this little theory from some evidence I've picked up, mostly from the TV shows and books that Copperhead may have been an orphan at a really young age.
And probably stuck in a Catholic orphanage.
Yeah. We actually did our homework and found that, yes, Catholic orphanages were pretty common when Copperhead was a child.
Would have been relatively, yeah. I mean, it's very, well, some evidence based off of the TV show, which I think doesn't quite follow the continuity of the comics as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like a lot of criminals that work with Copperhead, and the only reason they work with him is because they know they'll get their job done with him around. But they also have to keep an eye on him.
They're aware he's dangerous, but they're also aware that he's good at what he does.
One weird thing about his costume, other than the weird costume changes in the middle of the story, is the fact that in one panel you see that the tail's coming out of the butt. Another frame you see the tail is gone, and a completely different frame what you see is it's coming out of his arm. It's like, where is that thing coming from?
Oh, is that it? That about it?
Well, he's also an acrobat.
That kind of goes with the territory.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Bye.
I'm not worried.